Morning, boys and girls. Welcome back from spring break. Today is April 27th, 2020. Today is Monday. Yesterday was Sunday. And tomorrow is Tuesday. The weather seems not quite rainy, but definitely cool. A little cloudy today. It was cool and cloudy. In there. Okay. Today's video will be a little bit longer than normal because I'm going to actually be reading two books to you because our next kind of unit that we are doing is going to involve comparing books. You're going to be comparing characters, comparing the perspective of characters, the outcome of the characters' relationships, and I'm going to be using classic fairy tale stories in order to do that. So I have today the story of Rapunzel, and then the story of Rapunzel from Dame Gothel's perspective. It says, really, Rapunzel needed a haircut. So I'll first read Rapunzel to you. There are some words that are used in the story that are older traditional words, and I will be sharing a Google slide with you after this that has a glossary section. So we'll have vocabulary words that you might not be familiar with, and it'll tell you what those are. And I will do that with every book that I read. Okay. Long ago, there lived a man and a woman who had no children. As year followed year, this was their only sorrow. Then one spring, the wife felt her dress growing tight around her waist. Joyfully, she said to her husband, "We're going to have a child." The wife liked to sit by a small window at the back of their house and look down into a beautiful garden. Flowers grew there, and rare fruits and herbs of every kind. The garden belonged to a sorceress, who had enclosed it on all sides with a high wall. No one ever dared to enter it. One day, as the wife sat by the window, her eyes fixed on a bed of Rapunzel. The herb looked so luxuriant, so green and thick and fresh, that she felt terrible longing to taste it. Day after day her craving grew until she began to suffer from it. She became pale and wretched and said to her husband, "If I cannot eat some of that Rapunzel from the garden behind our house, I think I'm going to die." Her husband was alarmed to hear such desperate words. He loved his wife dearly and saw no choice but to bring her some of the Rapunzel. 10 times, 20 times he circled the garden wall, but found neither door or a gate. So, lowering himself through the window at the back of the house, he climbed down into the sorcerer's garden. Quickly he pulled up as much Rapunzel as he could hold, and he scrambled back through the window. His wife made a salad of the roots and the greens, and devoured it with a wild hunger. So intensely delicious was the taste that she nearly fainted as she ate it. Yet the next day her craving for Rapunzel was even fiercer. So Rapunzel is the German word for rampion, which is a green, kind of like arugula. Once again, the husband made his way down the wall into the garden, but this time, as he reached for the Rapunzel, the sorceress rose up before him. "How dare you come here to steal my Rapunzel?" she cried. Oh, it will serve you ill. Have mercy on me, the man begged. My wife is carrying our child. She's seen your Rapunzel from the window and um conceived such a longing for her that she will die unless she can eat some. What am I to do for her? The sorceress considered his words. If what you say is true, you may take the Rapunzel that you need, but in return, you must give me the child your wife will bear. The frightened husband did not know what to say. Rather than see his wife die, he agreed to the demand. And when the child was born, the sorceress appeared in the room. She named the baby girl Rapunzel after the herb and carried her. Oh man. The sorceress cared for the baby, seeing her every need. Rapunzel grew to be a child of rare beauty, with pale skin and abundance of flowing red golden hair. When she reached the age of 12, the sorceress led her into the forest to live in a high tower. The tower was a great column rising in the middle of the woods. Although it looked narrow on the outside, in the inside it was large, with many elegant rooms. No door led to this tower, and its only window was at the very top of it. When the sorceress wished to enter, she stood below the window and called, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Then Rapunzel would unpin her silky braids, wind them around the hook on the window frame, and let them tumble all the way to the ground. The sorceress would grab hold of them and hoist herself up. For years, Rapunzel lived alone in her rooms above the treetops, visited only by the sorceress. Then, one day, a king's son came riding through the woods. As he neared the tower, he heard a voice sweeter than any he had ever known. It was Rapunzel singing to the forest birds. Charmed by her beautiful voice, the prince fell deeply in love. He circled the tower 10 times, 20 times, but could not find any entrance. How strange this tower is, he said to himself, and he thought he would die of his sadness. He inquired at the nearest houses, where he was told that the tower belonging to a sorceress who was keeping a young girl shut away inside it. Day after day the prince returned, hoping to glimpse the girl singing, whose singing had moved him so. He hasn't seen her yet. One morning he saw the sorceress appear below the window and call up, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Once the prince knew how he too might enter that tower. The next evening he stood under the window and called, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Rapunzel's hair came billowing down. The king's son took hold of it and pulled himself up. "Heaven preserve me!" cried Rapunzel when the prince stepped through her window, for she had never set eyes on a man before. She began, but he began to speak to her with such a friendly way that her fear was gone. "Your singing was just so beautiful," the prince told her, "that I knew I must see your face, or my heart would have no peace." Rapunzel saw that he was young and handsome, and in her own heart she felt happiness that she had never known before. When the prince, grown bold, proposed to marry her, she consented. That means she agreed. They held a ceremony in the tower, and every evening after that he returned. The sorceress, who came only by day, knew nothing of his visit. One day, when the sorceress entered the tower, Rapunzel said, "If you please, stepmother, help me with my dress. It is growing so tight around my waist. It's not fitting me any more." Instantly, the sorceress understood what Rapunzel did not. "You wicked child!" she shrieked. "What did I hear you say? I thought I kept you safe, away from the world, but you have betrayed me." In a rage, she seized the braids and coils of Rapunzel's silky hair and sheared them off. Then she sent the miserable girl to a wild country to live alone with no one to care for her. After some months in this wilderness, Rapunzel gave birth to twins, one boy and one girl. Once the sorceress had cast Rapunzel out of the tower, she gathered the cut off hair and fastened it to the window hook. That evening, when the prince called out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair," she let the hair cascade down. The poor prince pulled himself up the window only to be confronted by the sorceress, her eyes wild with fury. "So you have come to fetch my dearest darling," she cried. "Well, you shall not see her again. Rapunzel is lost to you forever." Struck with grief, the prince let go of the braids and he plummeted to the ground. Although the fall should have killed him, the prince lived. But his eyes were very hurt and he could no longer see. Blind, he stumbled from place to place, eating nothing but roots and berries, thinking nothing of the loss of thinking nothing but of the loss of his beloved wife. After a year of wandering in such misery, he came to wilderness, where Rapunzel was living with her children. There, one day, he heard a voice so dear to him that he rushed toward it. Rapunzel saw him and opened her arms to him. As Rapunzel embraced the prince, two of her tears fell into his eyes. Suddenly his vision grew clear. Once again the prince could see. He gazed at Rapunzel and their two beautiful children. He looked up at the hills beyond the rocky landscape and knew that he was not lost. The prince led his family out of the wilderness toward his kingdom, where they were received with great joy. Everyone in his kingdom was happy to see him again. There they lived a long life, happy and content. Okay, so that is the end of that story. We'll move right into the next one. Really, Rapunzel needed a haircut. The story of Rapunzel, as told by Dame Gothel. And it says, "Of course you think I was a horrible old witch, locking dear sweet Rapunzel in that tall, tall tower. You don't know the other side of the story. Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you, it's lonely being a witch. When folks find out what I am, they steer clear. I have no friends at all, not one. It's unfair, really. A sweet girl with beautiful hair once lived with me, and I used to have a fantastic garden. Neither the girl nor the plants cared one whit that I was a witch. My flowers bloomed bright and tall. My radishes and Rapunzel were to die for. But sadly, I haven't seen the girl or my garden in a while. It all started when a neighbor tried to steal my radishes." Is that the same vegetable that it said the father stole in the first book? Here's how it went. "My wife is going to have a baby," my neighbor stammered, "and she craves your radishes. She swears if she doesn't have them, she'll just die." Sounds familiar. "Okay," I said, "but what will you give me in return?" I can get a pretty penny for these at the farmer's market. But I have no money. Not a single dime, he whined. Maybe I'll give you our baby? We can always have more, I guess. Well, of course I agreed to that. A baby would be better than gold. It would cure my loneliness. When the time came, the man brought baby Rapunzel to me. I raised Rapunzel as my own daughter and gave her anything she wanted from my garden: turnips, potatoes, berries, Rapunzel, cucumbers. But you know what her favorite food was? Radishes. The girl had good taste. All those vegetables helped Rapunzel's hair grow long and red. She sang sweet songs as she helped me tend the garden. The longer Rapunzel's hair grew, the more she loved it. She washed it and combed it and brushed it and braided it. And then she washed it again. You have no idea how much I spent on shampoo. One day, a group of neighbors gathered outside my garden. I heard them whispering, plotting, planning. This time, however, no one wanted to steal my radishes. They wanted to steal Rapunzel and use her hair for wigs. So I did what any mother would do. I locked the girl away in a tower. Rapunzel, let down your hair, I would call, and she would lean out of the window and wrap her hair around a hook. Then I'd climb up. Every day, without fail, I brought her vegetables from the garden. At first, she seemed content, but one day she told me she was lonely. And if anyone knows how loneliness feels, it's me. How can I help? I asked. Bring me every mirror you can find, Rapunzel said. Then I can keep myself company. Hauling a load of mirrors to the tower wasn't my idea of fun, but I did it anyway. I spent a week gathering every mirror in the village. Then I lugged them one by one into the tower. Let me tell you, it was not an easy task for an old witch like me. Thanks, Rapunzel said, but I don't need the mirrors anymore. I met a handsome prince. He climbs up to visit me every day. What? I roared, my voice rattling the windows and shattering the mirrors. He's going to steal you away. I panicked. What could I do? How could I keep the prince away? In a blink, I grabbed Rapunzel's hair and chopped it all off. Lumps of it. Rapunzel wailed. I admit, I felt a little bad. It'll grow back, I comforted her. Short hair will be nice for the summer. Cooler. She would not stop crying. Let's go home, dear, I said. I'll make you a radish salad, okay? I fastened her hair clippings to the hook and we crawled down together. While Rapunzel chomped her salad, I returned to the tower and waited. Rapunzel, let down your hair, the prince called. I lowered Rapunzel's hair and the prince climbed. When the prince saw me, his eyes widened. I gave him my most evil cackle. I meant only to scare him a little, but he leaped out the window and landed on some thorny bushes below. The poor boy staggered about, clutching his eyes. I was going to climb down and help him, but he did a terrible thing. He reached for Rapunzel's hair and yanked it from the hook, then ran away. Since then, I've been trapped in this tower. I try to sing sweetly in hopes of rescue, but my voice is sour. I try to grow my hair long, but my split ends keep breaking off. Drat those mirrors for bringing me bad luck. A little bird told me Rapunzel and her prince got married. I'm sorry I missed the wedding. It sounded lovely. Do you know what the bride carried? A bouquet of radish roses. Okay, so that's both of the stories. I've asked some questions on the Google slide. The questions that are related to these books are: who is the main character of each story? You can answer it separately. I've given you some words to look over for the glossary. Why did Dame Gothel cut Rapunzel's hair? You can answer that for each story. And then it says, what vegetable did Rapunzel's father try stealing out of Dame Gothel's garden? So each of these answers will be different based on each book. So you can enter them into different columns, and make sure that you share the Google slide to me, your copy of it. Otherwise, I won't be able to see what you've entered. Okay, thanks. Talk to you later.